Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I want to address the first regulation, which is before the House, in particular Part 4 of that regulation, which introduces this most obnoxious and repulsive idea, referred to quite properly by Mr. Allen, that when it comes to topping up PIP payments to guarantee continuance of benefit, that the perpetrator of a terrorist act who causes his disability by his own hand is to be rewarded on a par with the innocent victim upon whom he may have inflicted injury. That is amoral. And it is something which offends basic concepts of decency. That someone who sets out to injure, to kill others, and in the process disables him or herself, should and will automatically, under these regulations, be treated in the same way as the innocent victim of that or any other terrorist incident. And I am astounded that a minister from the DUP benches brings forward such an obscene proposal. Because the DUP, like many other unionists since 2006, has rightly raised objection to that equating of perpetrator with innocent victim. And I don't think they've fought an election since 2006 when they haven't proclaimed their opposition to that equation, that equating of perpetrator and victim. I quote but one of their manifestos, the 2009 European Manifesto. The DUP has been clear and consistent that the perpetrator of an act of terrorism should not and must not be equated with the innocent victims of terrorism. And yet that is precisely what this DUP written regulation does. Clause 15 is very clear that the perpetrator of a violent incident gets the same uplift as the innocent victim from that or any other violent incident. It didn't have to be that way. All the minister had to add was a few words to the end of clause 15(1, to the effect, provided that person was not convicted in, of, or involved in an offence arising from the violent incident. That would have protected the integrity of the situation. I heard a member raise concerns about integrity. Where's the integrity in saying time without number to the electorate that a clear and consistent stand will be taken against equating the perpetrator of the act of terrorism with the innocent victims of terrorism, and then bringing to this House a regulation which does precisely that? And I'm sure many on the benches who tonight will vote for this obscenity have met innocent victims from time to time. And I've been present when groups have been met by multiple parties, including the DUP. And I've heard the avowal, the solemn pledge, that they would never equate perpetrator with victim. And yet tonight, that is precisely what they stand ready to do. Why? Because getting their precious fresh start, keeping Sinn Féin happy, was more important than keeping their word to innocent victims. That's the sad, chilling reality. And that is what has brought the DUP to this position, where they are prepared to hold below the waterline all their pledges about never equating innocent victims with perpetrators. And in doing that, of course, they undercut entirely the laudable argument for amendment of the poisonous definition of victim in 2006 order. Because if you can live with it to the point of implementing it when it comes to welfare reform, then many will conclude you're happy to live with it in every other dimension of its definition. And so it is a sorry pass indeed. Now, when I challenged the Communities Minister about this at question time a couple of weeks ago, his pitiful answer was, "Oh, in welfare we are blind to how you got your injury." Not so, Deputy Speaker. These regulations are not blind to how people got their injury, because the person who got their disability out of a road traffic accident, there's no special treatment for him. But the person who got their injury at their own hand, through their self-inflicted perpetration of terror, there's special treatment for him. So away with this nonsense that welfare, these regulations are blind to how you came by your disability. They are not. They make a special case for those, including the perpetrator. And it's no answer to say, but most people covered by this will be innocent victims. Maybe. But there's a principle here, and it's a principle that could have been preserved by the simple addition of a very few words to clause 15.1 to exclude the perpetrator. And sadly, it's not possible to amend a regulation at this stage in the House, or I would have sought to do so. But it is possible, in the name of integrity, to rediscover your conscience on this matter and not to press this obnoxious proposal in Part 4 at this time. I make that plea. I know it will fall on deaf ears, because doing the deal that was done was more important than taking the stand of integrity on these issues.